just welcome to our Excellent Approach Summer Forum series. We like to do this series every summer to optimize your usage of X1, maybe introduce you to some new things. If you're a client, you could put these into action right away. If you're not a client, this is a sneak peek on how tailored our system is to your operation. Just some quick housekeeping before we start. In this webinar room, you'll notice that you'll have a chat mechanism and you have a questions feature. So take a moment now to use the chat, introduce yourself, your name, position, your FBO, and questions regarding the presentation. Use the questions feature separately, and we will make sure to answer all your questions at the end of the presentation. So I'm going to hand the microphone back to Caroline, and she is going to teach you about some features that possibly you're using or not using currently in X1.
Yeah. All right, folks. So thanks everyone for joining. As Monica said, we do this every summer. We try and highlight either different modules or different features that are either we're coming out with at that time or something that we feel is a hot topic. This summer, we decided to really just try and showcase what we already have and try and make sure that everyone understands the capabilities of X1 and the value that it brings. And I've done some traveling recently, speaking to some current FBOs, and it seems like we probably haven't done a good enough job at showcasing and highlighting some of the features that we've come out with. So that's what today's call is really about. At the end, we'll show a new feature that we are coming out with, but this what we're going to be going over the first portion and the middle portion is going to be all the current features that you currently have in the version of X1 that you currently have. Okay, and so we're going to start with the request list. One of the features that I think a lot of people may or may not know about is our integration into Amstat. I believe most of you are familiar with Amstat, but for those of you who are not familiar with Amstat, Amstat is one of the largest database for corporate aircraft data. And so being able to get the tail number, the correct model number, the correct company name when you are creating a request as a CSR is a pretty big thing, right? Because typically we have to get that information from either someone on the phone or someone through email, or we have to wait for that pilot to come in and verify that information. So I'm going to go ahead and start with that. All right, so I'm going to click on my new request here. Okay, and what you would do is you're going to go ahead and type in a tail number. So in this case, we're going to do Jim Carrey's aircraft, 162 Juliet Charlie. Okay, and you would typically see the add tail number option here, but for those FBOs that do have the Amstat integration, you're going to see this search Amstat option. So we're going to go ahead and click on that. And we see November 162 Juliet Charlie Gulfstream 5 available. We're going to go ahead and click on it. And right from here, we can create the tail number using the information that's coming directly from Amstat. Okay. Once we click on new tail number, all we have to do to bring this information over is click on Update All. Okay, that's going to bring over my tail number, the serial number. We're just going to type in that model number. Okay, and we'll go ahead and put the fuel type, and we're going to hit Next. The other part of Amstat is that it's going to tell you either the operator, the management group that's operating this aircraft. So you can see here that I don't currently have a customer name for Transexec Air Service in my X1 database. What I can do is I can hit this Create New Customer. Okay, and I could use this Use Amstat Customer Record. So what that does is it's going to allow me to either select the information under the owner, operator, or management. So if I want this request to go under the Solon Harry Evans, I could use this information, or I can click on the management, which is the company that's operating this aircraft, so Transexec. And all I have to do to bring this information over is click this Update All. And that's it. That's how simple it is to add a new tail number, a new customer, coming directly from a more credible source and it automatically creates the tail number, the customer with the model, and then you just have to select the field type there attached. So I see here we have some people here that have said hello. We have Luke, line service from Apex. We have Jess from Creos. Hey, Jess. All right, we've got Stephanie Peaks with Colorado. Hi, Stephanie. Max from Del Monte. Hi, Max. And then we have Brandy. Brandy, I think I just spoke to you yesterday for the first time. Nice. Thanks for joining. So I'm interested to know, for the folks that are on this call here, were any of you aware of our Amstat integration? And does it seem like it might be something that would be beneficial for your team to have? Go ahead and put it in the comments there. And let me see, I think there's maybe some more people to let in. Okay, perfect. All right, we have Danielle with Celtic Air, Nova Scotia. Wow. Hi, Danielle. We don't have integration with JetNet yet. We may be working on one. I'll definitely ask our CEO, Jim, if that's something that's in the works. Okay, perfect. Dina says she's thinking about possibly changing to Amstat from JetNet. And if you already have a JetNet, if you already have an Amstat account, then it's really just a matter of connecting it to your X1. And we could always do a trial run for 30 days, see if you like it, if your team is finding it helpful. You know, as a former CSR myself, being at the front desk, information is everything, right? Information is key. So being able to just get the tail number, the model, and the operator name, and the operator phone number too, right from Amstat without having to call someone back or stay on the phone with someone or dig through an email. I think it's a very valuable tool. If I had X1 as working at the front desk, I'd definitely ask my managers to get this for me. All right. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move on to the next feature. Our next feature is going to be right here in the request list. You're going to notice that on this request list, it may look a little bit different than what you're used to seeing. And that's because there's a new panel here that's called custom fields. So what this is that what we built was, we built the opportunity for FBOs to enter a custom field, any custom field of their choice. For example, we have some FBOs that are required to record very specific trip numbers, either maybe from Flightbridge or from catering or maybe from their own flight departments. So they might have internal flight departments that have their specific trip numbers or confirmation numbers. And so they want to make sure that they're recording that along with the request. This information does feed over into the invoice as well. And so here you have an example of a custom field where you could put in whatever custom field you want or a drop-down option. So let me show you what that looks like. Let's say that you're an FBO and on the request, you want your CSRs to start recording a different piece of data that maybe the request doesn't have. For those users that are admin, what you can do is you can come into the FBO settings and go into FBO profile. Okay, and then you're going to have a couple of tabs up here at the top. If you select on the one that says request and you scroll down here to the bottom, you're going to see this section that says custom fields. So you can label it whatever you want. It could be, flight department numbers, and you could do it as a text field. So the CSR would have to type in through text, or you can do another one as a list, so they can select one. So for example, in this example, I put for the custom field 2, I put whether that customer is going to be visiting for, let's say, an event that's in town for a boat show, or maybe they're here for a convention. Maybe that's information you want to record for later on for reporting purposes. You want to be able to run the stats next year on who was visiting your FBO for that weekend, in the case that maybe there was 2 big events going on in your city or town at that time. So just some options to think about. It's really about how creative you want to get with it. And I think that this is a feature that, unless you were one of the FBOs that when you onboarded, you needed a specific feature like this, and we showed you about, this is one that I don't think a lot of FBOs really know about. So I thought that today would be a good opportunity to show you guys that, hey, there is some more options on the request itself to get more details, more data, if you want to have your CSRs record that type of information. And like I said, it does carry over into the invoice too. So if that is something that needs to go into, let's say, accounting, or be added to an export, because it travels from the request to the invoice, you'll be able to get that information on the invoice as well. Any questions on that part? Do we have any questions on the custom fields option? I think Brandy has a question. I think I can unmute you. Let me see. You could unmute yourself, Brandy.
If anyone's having issues, you can, there's a, on the left-hand side, there's also a questions tab.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we got William from Odyssey as well. Hi, William. Okay. All right. I did take the participants off of mute now, so I think now if you try to unmute your microphone, it might let you, and we might be able to hear you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
Okay. So my question is, with that feature, that custom field, do I have to be in this request page to make that transfer to an invoice? So if I just wanted to do something on the real estate side, not connected to a flight, would that be possible? Is that still useful?
Currently, right now, it's just on the request. You would have to do it from the request, but we can make a note of that. I could see if that's something that maybe we can do as just like a type in from the invoice itself.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, perfect. So we'll move on to the next feature that I think maybe some of you folks might not be familiar with. And this is more specific to FBOs that do this type of operation, but one of the icon modules that we do have is an icon for the cargo. So if your team ever, even if it's once a year, if your team ever has to service an aircraft and do some kind of cargo, whether they're lifting pallets, using a forklift, and it's just a lot of labor that you guys want to charge for, we do have a very specific model for cargo handling, and you'll see it here. I just pulled it up. So you can put, like the cargo carrier, I'll say like Russell, Hans, and then we'll do a trucking company. Then you can specify whether this is an onload or an offload, if you're going to be helping to onload this cargo onto an aircraft, or offload, or do both. You could have you have some fields here for more description. And then if you're charging for it, you can also specify that right from within this module. You'll have this billing option. When you click on it, you can put, for example, a total number of pieces. So let's say we do 3 pieces and the container type is pallets. our total weight is, let's say, 1,200, and we want to price by weight at $2 a pound. And so that's how much is going to carry over into your invoice. So I thought that one was a cool one to show, just in case your operation starts to do cargo handling. And it could be, doesn't have to be specifically cargo, but as you can see here, you have the options for boxes or racks or any kind of labor that your line service does that you want to charge for. This is a good module to add. And this is already, again, this is stuff that's already inside of what you pay for X1. You don't have to, you don't have to add another product. Amstat is the only one that's an add-on feature, but what I'm showing you now, the custom fields and the cargo module, that's already included in what you have. So if you have any questions after this call on setting up custom fields or on how to start that cargo icon, just let us know. Go in that chat bubble down on the bottom right. Let us know, hey, I created a cargo product. Can you help me, assign the cargo module? All right. Another thing I wanted to mention, just in regards to icons, is that you might be adding a new product. Let's say you're adding. It could be anything that you're starting to sell at in your lobby, at your front desk, and you go ahead and create the product inside of products and services. When you create a product inside of products and services and you assign an icon to it, you're just going to have an icon with a notes feature. So if you wanted to add, let's say, like a quantity or a parking, a drop down, we can do that for you as well. So just to say, again, just get creative with the icons. There's a lot you can do there. There are all sorts of icon modules we can assign to any type of new products that you have. So just let us know. Give us, talk to our support team. We'll be more than happy to work with you if there's something new that you want to sell or just a new service that you want to start doing at your FBO. It doesn't even necessarily have to be something that's going to be invoiced. All right. Now for the good stuff. Here we have a note at the bottom of the request. You're going to see, oh, hold on one second. I see some questions coming in. Hey, Michael. Yeah, the custom field is something that's available already. If you go into FBO profile and FBO settings and you click on request, you're going to notice all the way at the bottom, you have some custom field options. Can we add a drop down to select the different sizes of labs or O2? So we can have a drop down for quantity. I have to check to see if different sizes is something that we can do. But that makes sense. Currently, I believe with the lab icon, we do have the option to do the fluid type, like a chemical, clear, water, or none. And you do have the fluid units here for the lab. If that's something that you're currently using, you do have that option. For the O2, though, I do believe the O2 right now is just a notes, but we can change that to a quantity field if you need as well. So if you do 2 oxygens and you put a quantity of 2, that too will carry over into your invoice. Okay. Carrie, it's currently we have multiple potties and bottles. Yeah, I'll definitely make a note of that and see if there's something that we can do for that, Carrie. Yeah, no problem. All right, so something that you see on this request here, that you're going to see on this request here, is that you're going to see a red font that says, see all available forms. Now, for those FBOs that are here with us today that are maybe outside of the US, you may be familiar with this feature, but I wanted to showcase it here today because I think that this feature can be used for more than just what the international FBOs are using it for. And so what we have here is that we have the ability to create a specific form, a form meaning anything that you as an FBO need to capture and submit to somewhere. So for example, I'll give you the easiest example is that a lot of our FBOs that are outside of the US, part of the services that they offer is a service to help the crew members fill out forms like Gendex, flight plans, forms of that nature, right? So instead of them having to have those forms printed out at the front desk or having to print out a PDF at that moment and have their CSRs either handwrite or type in all the information, we figured we already have the information inside of X1 for a majority of the trip, right? So for example, I have 162 Juliet Sierra, I've got the tail number, I've got the aircraft type, I got the customer name, and let's say I have the arrival time and departure. So let's say I'm going to put a departure of 1500. And then under contacts, I can go ahead and add a couple contacts. So I can say the departing crew is, let's just put in a cell phone number here for Arnold. Say he's the captain. Okay, and then I could also put a departing passenger. We'll do a phone number here. Okay. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and save this request. We're going to see 162 Juliet Charlie. Okay, and I'm going to click on See Available Forms. So what we do is that we'll work with your FBO to get the form that you need. So if you just send us like a PDF with the fields that you want to have automatically filled out from the request. So again, on the request, you have all the information for the tail number, aircraft model, aircraft type, customer name, flight type, origin, where it's going from, where it's coming to. So actually, let's do that. Let's type in origin, let's say ATL, and it's going to MY and N. Okay. All right, so we have the origin, where it's coming from, where it's going to, and I click on this See Available Forms. Okay, and then we have a list of multiple forms that this FBO is going to be using. So for the general declaration, for example, we scroll down and we hit preview. Okay, we can see that the general declaration form has been filled out with the owner and operator name, the tail number, the origin, so your ICAO, the date, the flight category, where it's what its destination is, and the date. And then we also have, for example, the pilot information and the passenger information. So then all your team would need to do in this part, let's say if it was a gen deck, is to print this out, and then they only need to get the information for the date of birth and the passport. So it just helps to save some time. Obviously, this is an example for a general declaration, but this could be any form. So if there's any other form, liability insurance type forms that you want pilots to fill out, or you want to make sure your CSRs are collecting at the front desk, be creative, use this feature. Again, this is already included inside of X1. It's just a matter of, again, just going down to that chat bubble. Hey, support, we have this form we want to start filling out. Can you work with our team to add the forms onto the request? And that's something that we could do for you. Okay. So if you don't have any, feel free to add your questions on the chat as they come to you regarding the forms or anything else that we've shown. One of the bigger features that we recently came out with that I don't think a lot of people know about, specifically when I was in schedulers and dispatchers recently in Cleveland, it seemed like a lot of our current customers didn't know about. So I figured today's the perfect time to show this this to you, and that is the ability to get request confirmations. So it's exactly what it sounds like, right? So you create a request in X1 with all the information, the services, and you need that extra step of having the pilots confirm it. So you're going to notice something here on the request screen that we have here next to our flight behavior icons. You're going to see a little clock or a triangle or a green check mark. That's going to indicate that this request has been confirmed from the pilot or the contact that you selected. Let's go ahead and do one so you can see what that looks like. So I'm going to go into that same request that we did, November 162 Julia Charlie. Okay. And over down here on contacts, let's say Arnold, the departing crew. Or you know what, let's add an arrival crew. We'll use Arnold again. Okay. There's an option here that you're going to see that's new that's called request confirmation contact. So if this is the pilot or if this is the crew member that you want to send the request details to, you're going to go ahead and select that option there. Hit confirm. Okay. And now we're going to see a button at the bottom right of the request that says send request confirmation. Something important to note is that you do have to have at least one service, so any kind of aircraft service, a concierge service, in order for that button to appear. So like a lab, fuel, hotel, anything, just at least as long as one of these service icons are selected, then you'll see this button appear. So we'll go ahead and select that send request confirmation. Okay, it's just giving you a message letting you know that this action is going to save and close the request. So if there's anything that you still need to edit, go ahead and make your edits. So let's go ahead and hit OK. It's not getting rid of my request. All it's doing is that it's saving it. Okay. All right. So as soon as we hit send confirmation in that green button, you're going to notice that time clock symbol appear. So if I'm a CSR that's just walking into my shift and I see, all right, November 162, I see a time stamp on it. That means that one of my coworkers before me has sent this to the pilot to get a confirmation. Some FBOs that we've worked with, they actually are trying to get into the habit of forcing the pilots to confirm the services that they have requested at the front desk or outside, just to cover what your team is doing and make sure that we're getting the details directly from the crew member's mouth, and so that we don't leave more room for ambiguity of he said, she said, I told him this at the desk, and then by the time it gets outside, one of the co-pilots says, I never said that. So we all know, we've all been there, and using this request confirmation can really help save. Maybe it's something that your team does for all requests. Maybe it's something that your team does for certain requests for certain customers that you maybe need to get that additional confirmation from. And it's also a good liability claim for the crew members themselves, right? So they can tell their management team, like every time we go into, Naples, they make sure we confirm all the services, so there's less risk of anything being incorrect by the time we get out to the plane and we see if the services are completed. So let me show you what this looks like. I'm going to go ahead and open up my inbox. Okay. Oh, I apologize. I need to use my email address. So give me a second. Let me remove Arnold as the arrival crew, and I'm going to add myself as the arrival crew. Okay, there's my email address, request confirmation contact, confirm. Okay, send request confirmation. All right, and so the moment that you hit that send request confirmation, that's going to send an email over to whatever email was on file for that contact. Okay, so here we see I got an email automatically, and it says view request details. This is what the pilots or the crew members will see. We're going to select that, and it's going to take us to this page. So this can be selected from a cell phone. It can be selected from a desktop, anywhere, that an iPad. This is what the page is going to look like. And they're going to be able to see the request number, the time the request was created, the details of that trip, the tail number, model, estimated arrival, estimated departure, and then any services that they asked for. So in this case, all we did was put cargo handling, but if we had put fuel or we had put lab, you'll see those services there. And in addition to being able to see the request details, there's also an option for a terms and conditions. So if that is something that sounds good for your FBO to start implementing as a terms and conditions. So for example, if I click here, it forces the pilots to read the specific terms and conditions that you have created for your FBO, okay, and hit accept. And then they would just hit confirm request. Okay, that's going to give them a request confirmed with a check mark. And if we go back over to our X1 FBO request list, we're going to see now we got that green check mark. So this allows me as the CSR to be, oh, okay, November 162 Juliet Charlie, looks like the pilot's already confirmed. We're good to go ahead and start the cargo service or go ahead and start the fueling operation. If you click into the request, now you're going to see the option, not the option, but you're going to see the notification saying that the pilot confirmed it at this time or at this date. So you have a lot of information here. This is a great feature. I think that it's just super underutilized right now. And so if to turn this on, let me walk you guys through how to turn this on. You can turn this on right after this call if your team wants. Right. So Michael, right. The customer wouldn't make any changes to the request. They can put in the notes if they decline it. So let me show you what that looks like actually first before I show you how to turn it on. So let's go into this request, 707 Juliet, Quebec. I'm going to open up this request. Okay, I'm going to go down to contacts. All right, I'm going to put arrival crew. I'll just put my phone number again. Okay, request confirmation contact. And we're going to go ahead and hit confirm. Okay, so right now we have a GPU and an oxygen service for this request. We're going to hit send request confirmation. Okay. Okay, and we'll wait for that email to come through. Usually takes a second or two. Okay, we got the email now. Okay, so let's say I'm the pilot. I just got that email from the front desk at the FBO with my request details. I see again the request details created 707 Juliet, Quebec, Hawker, main ramp. And I see that the CSR has put that I want a GPU and an oxygen. And in reality, I actually don't need the oxygen. So what I can do is there's a option right down here that says report issue on request. Okay, and you can go ahead and put reason. You can say incorrect order, no longer needed, change in schedules. Let's say they're going somewhere else or other reason. So let's say I put incorrect order and I type in oxygen is no longer needed, but okay with GPU. Okay, we'll go ahead and hit submit. They'll get that same checkmark box. Okay, and then back over on the request list, we're gonna see a triangle. So that indicates that they have rejected some of the details that you originally sent. So if we click on this here, if we hover over it, we're going to see the quick reason that says incorrect order. But if we click into the request, you're also going to see it was rejected, incorrect order. And if we hover over that little note box, you're going to see what the pilot typed. So you'll see that they said oxygen is no longer needed, but okay with the GPU. So okay to start the GPU. So yeah, they're not making any changes directly. They're just letting you know something was incorrect, and they have the opportunity in the notes section to put, what was incorrect and what they do want to add. Okay, I know that was a lot to cover, so feel free to ask your questions in the chat as you need. What I'm going to show you is how to enable that feature if that is something that you want to start testing to have your CSRs start sending request confirmations. What you're going to do is you're going to go to your main menu and FBO settings, FBO profile, okay? And over on the request tab, you're going to have an option here that says request confirmation. So if you're ready to turn that on, you can go ahead and select the enable request confirmation status in SinglePoint. So it's something we can also show in SinglePoint, and then email confirmation. Currently, right now, it's just via email, but we are going to be coming out with the ability to also send the same request confirmation through an SMS text, which would be even faster. And then you also have the opportunity to put your own terms and conditions right here in this box. Okay, so I see we have a question from David. It says, when adding contact info to the request, will it upload to the customer file account? That's a great question. And actually, you have an option to do that. It could be either or. So when you're inside of a request, okay, and you select the contact section down below, and let's say that you want to add an arrival crew, and I type in a phone number for an arrival crew. Okay, you're gonna see, you see there's a checkmark box that says include in customer profile. So it won't automatically do it every time you create a new contact, because this could be, a requester, maybe from a dispatch center, that is just calling the one time. You'll never hear from them again. They have nothing really to do with the company besides giving you the information for that trip. Or it's a crew that constantly flies this aircraft, so you do want to include it into your customer profile. So you have that option to select include in customer profile, and that will ensure that that is now a contact that is linked to that customer profile for you to just quickly select from on your next request. Okay, there's so much more to show you. I'm going to try and fit as much as we can in these next 15, 20 minutes. Let me finish here with the request, and then we're going to go over to SinglePoint. Something that I feel maybe our customers don't know enough about is, well, we have the ability to add credit card fees via a workaround option right now. That is something that we are definitely taking into account into the new versions of X1, the new invoice versions that we have. We're going to be able to do, subtotals and add credit card fees the way credit card fees should be added. But currently, as it stands right now, we have the ability to do I'm going to create an invoice with a few line items. Okay. Okay. So let's say that you want to charge 3% using anytime your customers use a MasterCard. When you select MasterCard, now it won't happen automatically, but if your CSRs hit credit card, they're going to have this credit card fee, which they can then select, and they can select which line items this credit card fee applies over. So I can use this top check mark to select all. And then I could just type in 3% and it'll do the calculation for me. Okay. So here we see we added a credit card fee to this invoice. It automatically did the calculation for me. This feature where that box pops up and you can select what line items and select the percentage, this can be used for not just credit card fee, but it could be used for any kind of commissions that you want to make on certain services that you sell, certain third-party services that you sell. So just wanted to put that out there in case that's something that maybe strikes an interest for anyone here on this call. Maybe you want to start charging a certain service, but making sure your team collects at least some portion of it. There is an easy way to do it right from the invoice. It's just a matter of having the CSR selected and put in the percentage there that they need. Okay. So with that said, we're going to jump over to SinglePoint. Allow me just a moment. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. Okie dokie. All right, I should be sharing the screen for SinglePoint. Can everyone see like a phone type of display on the screen share? Okay, perfect. Awesome, perfect. So for those of you that decided to join today, you're in luck. We actually are going to be showing the newest version of SinglePoint, which is going to be coming out right around the corner, and that is our newest version, 3.5. What I'm going to go over with you is some of the newest features that we're going to have on SinglePoint. Not all of the newest features, but some of the ones that I know a lot of the customers have been asking for. Our team has been hard at work to put this together and to get it out to you. There's some pressing demands that we've gotten from our customers. As most of you know that you've worked with us, we've been to your FBOs, we speak with you guys at the shows. You know that listening to our customers is something that we do take seriously. We try our best to put everything that we can that you ask for. Sometimes it's just a matter of resources. But as far as SinglePoint goes, like I'm of the opinion that SinglePoint is one of the main reasons that we have become as successful as we have today. Without SinglePoint, without your team being able to see this information out on the ramp, then we're just another web page that has good UI. This SinglePoint that you're going to see here is going to look very similar to the current SinglePoint that you have. We're just going to show you a couple of the different features, the new features that we've added. As I go along, I'm going to mention some of the features that I'm showing you here is actually some features that you currently have on the current version. So I'm going to start with those. I'm going to start with showing you the features that you currently have on your current version. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and at the bottom, we're going to see similar tabs to the current version. I'm going to click on schedule. Okay. You're going to notice the display looks a lot differently, a lot nicer, cleaner UI UX, a couple of different options. But let's go ahead and start with the features that you currently have on your SinglePoint today. So something that a lot of FBOs may or may not realize is that we added last year, we added the ability for the line service technicians to use Quick Quote directly from the SinglePoint device. So what that means is that anybody outside on the ramp walks by your line service technician, hey, how much do you charge for a king air overnight, or how much fuel minimum, so that I could waive your facility fees. This is no longer a radio call that needs to be done to your front desk. They can do it directly from SinglePoint just by going to the schedule tab, hitting the plus button. They're going to select Quick Quote. Okay. If they don't know the tail number, that's fine. They could just go ahead and put in the model. So just very similar to how you do it in the desktop version. And I keep saying desktop. You could use X1 obviously from a laptop and anywhere you like. So see here, I put in the model and automatically I get the current price of Jet A that I can quote the customer. A GPU. I have the facility fee. I have the fuel gallons that it takes to waive. So I could tell them, hey, Cap, I see if you take 120 gallons for your type of aircraft, that's going to waive your facility fee of 150. You want me to go ahead and pull a fuel truck up? So this is something that I think it's something that some of our FBOs have taken advantage of. And it's just something that I wanted to put back out there to make sure that your team is aware that this is something that your line service technicians or anyone that has access to SinglePoint on the ramp has access to. Okay, another feature in SinglePoint that you currently have using this new plus button is when you create a new fuel order. So we'll go ahead and put in a tail number. Okay, location, let's just say main ramp. Hit save. Okay, it's telling me it's a potential duplicate. That's okay. Let me do that again. New fuel order. Let's do a new tail number. Oh, saying I don't have permission. So I might not be able to show you on the version that you're in now, but something that your team has access to right now on the current version is from that new fuel order, you're going to have a screen when you select that tail number and say that they're arriving today and need fuel today. You're going to have a screen to add the credit card on file directly from SinglePoint. So if the crew is out there on the ramp and they're quick turning, they got the credit card in hand, your fueler is right there, they can go ahead and type in the credit card number directly into that new fuel order. That's going to save the information for the CSR to be able to use from the request once they create that invoice. Okay, so now we have a couple minutes left. I'm going to try and show you some of the new features on SinglePoint version 3.5. Like you see here, a lot of the design looks newer, fresher. You're going to also have the destination from and to with the customer name. You'll also notice different coloring for the actual times. And something that's been long awaited is our ability now to go into this new tab that's called More. Okay, you're going to go into Settings. Okay, App Settings. And now we have the ability to go from a dark mode to a light mode. I know that that's been a long-awaited demand from our customers, so this should really help with the visibility outside. And another feature that we have here that has also been long awaited in the new version of SinglePoint 3.5 is a lot of people have been asking for the ability to send notifications to the SinglePoint, right? So CSR enters a new fueling from the front desk. Instead of having to call it out over the radio, now they're going to get notified on the SinglePoint device themselves that a new fueling has been entered, or fueling has been updated, or a new request has been added. And you can toggle on and off which features you want to be notified of. Currently, it's just going to be the fuelings right now because that's the most important. But eventually, we'll add the other services like catering, lab, all that other good stuff. Okay, so this is what the light mode looks like. We see here a pull online time with a countdown for the pull online. So if you're a line service technician and you're looking at your SinglePoint, you can start getting ready. What's the next aircraft I need a tow to put online? We also have the location here. So if I were to click on location, okay, let's say that I'm getting ready to do a tow movement. I can do a complete pre-tow inspection. So I can click on this. Okay, this is something that you currently have now, pre-tow inspection. Oh, I didn't put into a different location. So let me go ahead and change that from hangar 1 to main ramp. Hit start. Okay, so our pre-tow inspection has been completed. And now I'm going to hit start tow movement. Okay, so this is new, and this is pretty huge in terms of the liability that your FBO takes on every time you move an aircraft from one location to another. Being able to record the information of where it went from, where it went to, and who was doing the tow, who were your wing walkers. Being able to record that right here from SinglePoint, that's big. That's very impactful. All this information gets saved. You can send it to your insurance companies. So we'll do one here. For example, we're going to move this aircraft from hangar 1 to the main ramp, and we're going to search for wing walkers. So this is going to pull up a list of the users that you already have. So let's say that myself and Umberto are the wing walkers. Okay. And let's say that also someone, walking around, maybe the pilot themselves were a wing walker. I could add a non-user wing walker where I could type in their name. Let's say Captain Monica. We'll go ahead and add her there. Okay. I could even put tug, which tug I'm using, which tow electro I'm using. Okay. And you're also something that you're going to have here is that we also have the ability, you're going to have the ability to, instead of selecting the tug, to scan the tug QR code itself or the RFDI directly from the tug. So we'll give you guys some QR codes that you can put on all your equipment so that it's just a quick scan, and you could do, even when you're doing equipment fueling. So let's say that you're doing your GSC work, you want to be able to quickly fuel, one of your trucks with gasoline, quickly fuel one of your trucks with diesel. All you would need to do is to scan the QR code and it'll start the fueling automatically. Okay, we're going to hit start tow. All right. Now, I don't have, so I'm doing this from my computer, but when you hit start tow, what's going to happen is it's going to actually grab the location that you're in from the GPS. So on the SinglePoint devices, we would have the location turned on, and you'll be able to see from a screen exactly where it was towed from and where it was towed to from an aerial view, just like Google Maps. Okay. Okay, so I think we're coming up on time now. That concludes a lot of the highlights of the newest features that I wanted to show everyone here that has joined. Oh, thanks, Jim. Yeah, I can show that in more. if there's any, and sorry I didn't leave it enough time, I'm happy to stay on for a few minutes, but if there's any questions that you guys have in terms of what you've seen today, feel free to put them in the comments or put them in that question section. I see, Luke, you had a question about hanger. When you do a request for hanger customers, SinglePoint, it puts in arrival time rather than departure time. Is that something that's changing, or am I missing a trick with it? I think you're probably referring to like to base tenants. I'm guessing you're referring to maybe a base tenant. If you want, I'm gonna take your name, Luke. Can you tell me what FBO you're with? And we'll have someone from our support team reach out to you to see if we can see what you're talking about with those type of trips that you're needing to do with the hanger. Yeah, Monica, would we be sharing the recording of the call? I know it was recorded. I believe she does share it with everyone that signed up for it. Yes, Stephanie, yes. So close period and accounting lock dates. I do apologize. I did not go over the close period and accounting lock dates, but let me go back to share. Okay, so this is a feature. I'll try and go through this really quickly. I know we're over time. This is a feature that a lot of FBOs may already be using, but some FBOs might not realize it exists. Is the accounting lock dates. So over here on accounting, when we select on the menu, there's a drop down for accounting lock dates. Okay, and at the top here we have an option to set an accounting lock date. We have two options for accounting lock dates. And what accounting lock dates are is that it is the ability for your management team, accounting or admin team, to say, okay, from the last time we set an accounting lock date till today or till the day before yesterday, we're going to lock it down, meaning we don't want users to go back and edit invoices or edit field tickets that we have already accounted for on the accounting financial side. And so you can lock it. And then you could also give limited access to certain users that can still go into that time period and make edits. So let's say that you want to lock it for all the CSRs and fuelers, everyone else, they can't go in and make any edits on field tickets or invoice within a certain lock period. That's fine, but there are certain members in your accounting team that still need to go in and make an edit here or two for some accounting reasons. So we want to be able to give them a limited access. Okay, and this is all controlled by usernames and user permission. Yes, Robert, all of these features that we covered today are available in your current version, all except the specific new features I showed on SinglePoint, which is the pull online countdown and the light mode for SinglePoint. But the rest of them are available in your current version. Close period, I'll end with close period. So now for the FBOs that are still here, for everyone that's still here, something that we get questions on is, sometimes FBOs either lose some people or they move up in different places, and so the person that was keeping track of all of their field reconciliation is now gone and they're having to pass that on, or they just never been good about keeping track of field reconciliation in X1. They're doing it outside of X1. So one of the things we do is we work with your teams as part of the training packages that we offer. And if you're not already doing it, I just want to emphasize, using the daily closes in X1 is going to save you a lot of time. The daily closes helps your team to record at the end of the day, whatever the physical balance was, whatever the meter was, and it's going to tell you if you have any variances. And you create these records every day throughout the month. And at the end of the month, what you're going to do is called a close period. So you're going to take the physical reading of what is out in your tanks and trucks. Okay, and you're going to enter it as a close period. And that is going to true up your numbers in X1 so that when you start the next month, you can be on clean numbers. So you can start the beginning of the month with exactly what you had outside in the tanks and the trucks. I wanted to bring this up because I noticed that some FBOs are doing the daily closes, but they're not doing the close periods. Some are doing the close periods, but are not doing the daily closes. And if this is something that you feel is happening at your FBO, please reach out to us at support in that bubble at the bottom right when you log into X1 and just say, hey, I want some help. I want some help getting started with taking a look at our fuel reconciliation. We're going to be more than happy to work with you so we can get you guys at a place where you're really utilizing the features of X1 the way that they're meant to be used. All right, folks, I think I've covered a lot in a short amount of time. I'll make sure that Monica sends this recording out to everyone, or if we're not able to send them to you individually on the email, we will be putting it up on our YouTube channel. So we'll make sure to send the link to the YouTube channel so that you guys are aware of when to go and watch it back. Thank you everyone for joining and for listening to me, all the questions that you had and that you asked. Again, my name is Caroline. I'm the VP of Customer Success here at X1. Any questions that you guys have, you can find me in the bubble. All right. I'll go ahead and sign off now, but it's been a pleasure having you guys. Thank you so much for joining.